Good evening, everybody. As we begin this meeting, I will ask everyone to please silence cell phones and other electronic devices and remind council that our procedure bylaw prescribes the use of such technology during council meetings. It is 5 p.m. I'll call this council meeting to order. And I'll begin with an Indigenous land acknowledgement. As our meeting gets underway, I will note that the traditional keepers of this land are our neighbors of the Alderville First Nation. We are meeting on the Gunshot Treaty lands of 1788. It is on these lands and on the shores of the Big Lake that the Mississauga Anishinaabe met with the Crown to facilitate the opening of these lands for settlement. Let us be reminded of the responsibility we all have in making sure that we respect these lands and waters that give us life and sustain our livelihoods. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council approve the April 22nd, 2025 Council agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. And I will note we have received regrets from Councillor Butwell, and Councillor Wright has noted that she will be late for this evening's meeting. She'll be here as soon as she can get here. Members of council, have you any declarations of interest? I do. I am declaring an indirect pecuniary interest on item 17.3 of today's agenda. I am a member of the Trinity St. Andrews United Church Council, and this item is a monetary request. I will therefore be removing myself from the chair and not participating in that portion of the meeting, and I do have a motion to follow to select a chair for that agenda item. I'm also declaring a non-disqualifying interest on item 18.1 of today's agenda. Again, I am a member of the Trinity St. Andrews United Church Council. However, this item is of community interest and in common with the elector, and therefore I will continue to chair the meeting during that agenda item. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that Council elect Councillor Rowley to chair the meeting for agenda item 17.3. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. And we'll proceed into a closed session with a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council resolve itself into closed session April 22nd, 2025 at 5:03 p.m. Pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act, R.S.O. 2001 as amended, Subsection 239(2)(c), a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, negotiation, purchase of sale agreement, Sharp Road Industrial Park. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried, and we'll give staff a moment Good. Okay, I have a motion moved by Council Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council rise and report from closed session April 22nd, 2025 at 5:37 PM. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. I do have a report from the closed session, which I will read when we come back and start our meeting over. So it is 5:37 PM. We will be recessed until 6:30. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:30. I will call this meeting back to order and note that we had started our meeting with a closed session at 5 o'clock. I will note that Councillor Wright has joined us for this portion of the meeting. And I will read the disclosure from the closed session. Council met in closed session to consider matters. It is permitted to do so under the Municipal Act and as listed on today's council agenda and the closed session resolution. The following items were considered during the closed session and may require motions as necessary. The first item was the approval of closed session meeting minutes of both the special and regular sessions of April 7th. And a procedural motion to adopt those minutes was voted on in closed session and therefore remains nothing to be done in the public open session. Item 2 is a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Negotiations to purchase of sale agreement, Sharp Road Industrial Park, and I do have a motion to receive a confidential discussion for closed session. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council approve the confidential directions provided to staff in the closed session April 17th, 2025. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? That motion's carried. Are there any announcements this evening? There are none noted. Perhaps I will note that the fire department will be helping the Ward family on Thursday with a small procession, taking Chuck on his final tour. They will be leaving Station 1 at about 11:45 or so, proceeding up to Smithfield, where Chuck was a crossing guard, and then coming down, passing the Main Street corner where Chuck was also a crossing guard, and heading over to the funeral home for the beginning of the 1:30 visitation, which starts then. Go on to adoption of the minutes. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council adopt the April 7th, 2025 special council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council adopt the April 7th, 2025 council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. The motion moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that Council adopt the April 14th, 2025 council planning meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. We have no statutory public meeting this evening. We have no delegations or presentations, which brings us to citizens' comment. Citizens' comment is an opportunity for members of the public to submit comments or ideas to council on matters appearing before council on tonight's agenda. A maximum of 10 minutes is set aside for citizen comments, leaving each speaker with 2 minutes to provide council with their comment. It is noted that language, content, and conduct must remain respectful at all times. Comments will be received without comment, debate, or questions from council. And the presiding officer may request clarification and or additional information on comments from the member of the public. So we have 4 comments, all with regard to tennis. And I'll start with Valerie Wheaton, 28 Maplewood Avenue.
Is that on? Yeah. Good evening, Your Worship, and ladies and gentlemen of the committee. The Brighton Tennis Club agrees that the flat fee of $1,500 for the 1,820 hours of club time between May the 1st and October the 31st of this year is a reasonable request. Thank you. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And Richard Robb.
I'm happy to comment on this because I commented early on, and my hope was that we would come to an actual agreement. And initially, it didn't look like that was going to happen, but I'm very pleased that we are working on an agreement. During the last discussion that our representatives had with staff, I believe it was perhaps with you, Vicky, we were told that further discussion on the proposed agreement would be with a new hire, a new member of staff with the municipality who would be better placed to negotiate and make decisions. I think that this would definitely expedite the process. Is this what we can expect? It's my question. I know you're not here to answer questions, but I'm hoping that this is what we can expect. If so, the club does look forward to cultivating an excellent relationship with that new staff hire and with the municipality, of course. We want to be partners in the advancement of sport and recreation, particularly in this case, tennis, because that's our particular sport. Our hope is to resolve the obstacles we have encountered so far so that a signed agreement can be realized in the near future. So we look forward to working together towards this end.
Thank you, Mr. Robb. And Marianne Dyer.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the tennis season. I'm a member of the Brighton Tennis Club Committee. The club agrees to begin the club tennis season on May 1st, 2025, and conclude it on October 31st, 2025, as written in the staff report. However, we'd like the municipality to consider a more flexible start and end of the public tennis season based on weather conditions. The club actually puts the nets and the poles when it's warm enough, about 10 degrees Celsius, and down when the weather starts to be cold, below 10 degrees Celsius in the fall. This is a legacy piece for Brighton in line with other municipalities. Quinton West has already put their nets up at Hannah Park, and the Trenton Racquet Club has started putting their nets up already too. So if this is not possible, we just kind of hope to have some rationale that can be provided. Until there's a signed agreement, the club understands that it will operate similar to last year while continuing to sit at the table with the municipality in fair negotiations until a signed agreement has been reached. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dyer. And Carrie Hallowell.
Thank you, Your Worship and council members. I wanted to speak about the maintenance concerns of the club, which frankly is the main obstacle to reaching a signed agreement with the municipality. I'm just going to move this a little taller.
The podium actually will come up and
Ah.
down. Yeah, there you go. It's like magic.
Technology.
Yeah. It's like Hogwarts around here.
Okay. Is that okay? Can you hear me? All right. So the legacy piece related to the club is that for decades, the club volunteers have responsibly, with the municipality, cared for on-court maintenance and upgraded equipment for tennis in the town of Brighton. And we make sure that it's clean and it's safe for everyone to use. But in addition to this, the club provides upgraded equipment such as nets and net poles, and Marianne spoke about that, at OTA required length, height, material, tension for play. And the club has also installed wooden practice boards for use by the public and by club members. And the municipality has always ensured that the grounds around the tennis courts and the fencing is at a very high standard, while the tennis club erects the wind barriers so that it doesn't affect play. So it's a great example of how we in the club and the municipality work together to actually have an excellent tennis season for Brighton. However, here's the however, lighting has been one of the key concerns that has been one of the obstacles to having a signed agreement between the club and the municipality. So the club extended the poles and upgraded the lighting that is there now, and they also hold the electricity bill and pay for the usage of it. So the obstacle is actually maintenance. It all boils down to that. The club would like the written contract with the municipality to reflect that lighting and all equipment is kept at OTA standards, which is Ontario Tennis Association standards, just as the club has done for many decades. So with this addressed in the contract, the club will sign it and transfer the electricity bill to the municipality without delay. And the heart behind it all is to continue with the excellent standard of tennis in the town. We want to collaborate, and I use collaborate rather than cooperate, because cooperate means I'm co-opting you to do what I want. We want to co-labor with the municipality so that we have an excellent tennis season year to year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Halliwell. And of course, we will be discussing this ongoing negotiations and agreement later in the agenda. I've made some notes to ask some questions around these comments. Motion is moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that Council receives citizens' comments submitted at the April 22nd, 2025 Council meeting. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. That brings us to staff reports. Our first report is outdoor court agreements. There we go. Manager Hallam, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this time, thanks.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that Council receive the staff report outlining the current status of the Brighton Tennis Club and Brighton Pickleball Club draft agreements. Is there any discussion? I have some questions, but go ahead, Councillor McCausland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I just have one question and then maybe just something to say afterwards. My one question is, why is the season strictly start May 1st and end October 31st?
Manager Hallam.
Through the mayor to the councillor. The Parks and Rec Department has seasonal timeframes in order for our crew to manage achievable transitions for all of our services. With planned timing allows for us reasonable plans to prepare and closure of each of our amenities we look after. The logistics of May 1st start time allows us time to ensure that the grounds are de-thawed so the posts and the nets can go in and without heaving. It also allows us timing for the washrooms facilities to be opened. They have been winterized. They're not all season. So it allows us time to have those prepared for May 1st opening in King Edward Park.
Follow up?
No, but it still pertains to tennis. I just want to also add that since it is a club and public court, that I would hope that it will be maintained to the same service and standard that it's already receiving. But that has basically been touched on.
Thank you both. Anyone else? So we did get asked a question during citizens' comment, and that is about something about a new staffer to negotiate. CAO, can you make a comment?
Sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to council, and the question, we have just brought on Mr. Bill Lennon. So he's our Director of Infrastructure Operations and Recreation. He does come with a background in recreation as well as the other areas within the Public Works Department. Upon his arrival, Vicky and I did have a discussion about bringing him into this negotiation and the discussions with the club to bring his expertise and allow him and Vicky to work with the club to try to come up with an agreement. So you will see Bill, and if you'd like to reach out, he's more than happy to chat with you.
Thank you for that. And we will, of course, continue to operate as per last year until we reach an agreement. Is that correct? I'm getting a head nod from staff. And the request that maintenance, lighting, and equipment be held to OTA standards, is that something we're considering as we engage in this? Or is that something we will consider as we negotiate through these, CAO?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, through to council, certainly it's something that we will have a discussion about. This is really the first I'm hearing of it. I'm not sure if this has been conversations with Vicky, and probably the first that the bill is hearing as well, but we will certainly have those conversations.
Thank you very much for that. Any other questions or comments from members of council? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Our next report is with regard to the pride flag raising and pride banners. Deputy Clerk, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, I do have something to highlight. This is a report that I had originally drafted and provided to the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee for their review. They were to meet last week and review my report, give me any kind of feedback or comments. But unfortunately, they didn't make quorum for their meeting. So what had happened is I had emailed it out prior to the meeting. I did get some positive comments. I did not get any negative comments, but there was some members who didn't provide any comments via email. And then their meeting unfortunately could not proceed to be discussed, so that I could bring this with their full support. But the support I did get was full support from the few members that did respond. But it was also discussed at prior meetings about ideas of how to make this happen. But yeah, so this is what we're presenting kind of with the committee.
In theory. Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland. The council approve the proposed Pride flag raising event scheduled for June 2nd, 2025 at 10 a.m. in front of the Municipal Center, and that council approve the proposed alternative of installation of Pride flags in the hanging flower baskets along Main Street during the month of June. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of questions regarding the flags in the baskets. Wondering if the committee or staff have reached out to the DBIA, as they are the owners and caretakers of the baskets. It would be probably wise to speak with them as far as how these can be inserted, that plants aren't ruined as well. I've also had a little bit of conversation with some people who have maybe concerns regarding, once again, something that we don't like to talk about is vandalism, but hopefully we can keep that kind of under control as well. But that would be my only, if the committee or staff could reach out to the DBIA. Up until now, I don't believe they have. I know I'm on that committee, and we certainly haven't discussed anything at our last meeting. So if that could just be looked after, just to get some input. I'm not the plant person, but we have one or two on our board who are, so they would welcome some discussion. That's all. Thank you.
Deputy Clerk.
That's correct. I haven't reached out to them at this time. I did, however, collaborate with Manager Hallam, whose staff does hang the baskets, and we had a couple of back and forth discussions about ideas of how this would work. The previous flag I had, it was kind of like a garden hook flag, wouldn't work and didn't make sense. We did end up on this flag as our recommendation, but I'm happy to reach out to the DBIA as well. I actually already have a meeting scheduled with a DBIA member next week.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is the intent for the Pride flag to stay up all month? And I ask this because there are other things that happen in June, including I think there's some sort of National Indigenous Day or week or some such thing in June.
I believe in my report, Mr. Mayor, I referenced for 1 week.
1 week?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Anything further on the motion? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. The next report comes from the CAO, ongoing report on capital projects update. CAO, do you have anything to add or highlight?
No, Mr. Mayor, I do not.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland. The council received the CAO ongoing report and capital projects update as information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to take a couple of seconds to discuss page 6 of 6, the auto speed enforcement. I know that the cameras are up and running and that we are all benefiting from a 3-month grace period. Having heard from folks who follow this a little bit more maybe than I do, especially in the city of Belleville, what I'm hearing there is the fines are set at there's very minimal kilometers per hour that are given before a fine is sent out. The fact that we have 3 months, do we know how these things are calibrated as far as reading the speeds? I know my car might read 40 when someone else's doesn't read 40, the same thing. Are there any assurances that we are going to be working in a little less stringent, strict 1 kilometer per hour, as I hear is happening in Belleville? That seems a little, we didn't want this to be a cash cow. This is certainly to have drivers aware of driving a bit more safely. But I really think that 1 kilometer per hour over the speed limit to get a fine is absolutely silly. So I would like maybe a report or some assurances. Is it in the fine print of the contract that we have with this company as to exactly how they are gauging this? Before we have 3 months to figure this out. That's all I'm
The
asking.
municipality will set a tolerance level. The tolerance level will be more than 1 kilometer.
Okay,
over.
that's okay. Like I said, I'm just hearing a lot of negative around this, and
I do not know what the tolerance level will be because I fully expect the municipality will want my money.
they're going to get some
They're going
from
to get my money.
They're going to get some from me too, I'm sure. But I just find that if this is our program, that we certainly need to be a little bit more tolerant than the 1 kilometer over.
And I can tell anybody who's listening to my voice that if they get a fine on the automated speed enforcement cameras on Elizabeth Street for 41 kilometers, they can come see me and I'll take care of that fine for them.
And if you can't, I will.
Well, we'll split it. We'll do halvesies. It's a concern. I get it. Yeah.
It's been a concern. That's been
the
raised
reality
to me.
is you're right. I mean, when we change our winter tires over, sometimes our speedometers don't marry up well. And so we need to be a little bit more tolerant than 1 kilometer allows. I will not know what that tolerance is because I think staff know I have a big mouth and I'll probably tell everybody, put it all over Facebook. But there will be a tolerance and nobody doing 1 or 2 kilometers over the speed limit is going to get dinged.
Thank you for that. Is that tolerance gauge going to be something that's discussed at council? Or is that going to be discussed with staff?
Staff and the OPP are working together on what that tolerance should be.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anything else on the ongoing report? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. There are no notices of motions. There are no motions. There's no unfinished business, which brings us to bylaws. The first bylaw is with regard to the voting method for the 2026 municipal election. It's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland. The council gives a, pardon me, council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw to authorize the use of internet voting as the alternative method of voting for the 2026 municipal election in the municipality of Brighton. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. The next bylaw is new provisions for mold control, an amendment to the property standards bylaw with a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw to amend and update bylaw number 099/2020, a bylaw for prescribing standards for maintenance and occupancy of all property within the municipality of Brighton, and to repeal bylaw number 082/2002. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. There are no reports or minutes of advisory committees of council or review teams. There are no reports or minutes of statutory committees, boards, or external agencies, which brings us to correspondence. Direction items, endorsements, communications, and petitions. The first comes from Lorraine Pyle, Stroke Support Coordinator of the, what does HPE stand for? Hastings, Prince Edward, something or other. Could probably do the same thing. No, it's probably like Heart and Stroke Foundation or something, but. Okay. Well, the motion reads that is moved by Council Rowley and seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson that council support the request from Lorraine Pyle, Stroke Support Coordinator, to proclaim the month of June as Stroke and Aphasia Month. Council Rowley, I've removed the HPE because it makes little sense. We can just put her title in there. Are you okay with that, Deputy Mayor Anderson, as well? Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. And the next correspondence comes from Stephen Murdoch, Enterprise Canada. Lighting request, Doctors Day 2025, moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council receive or support the request from Stephen Murdoch, Enterprise Canada, to light the municipal centre in blue on May 1st in celebration of Doctors Day. Councillor Rowley, I assume you would like to support this?
Yes, sorry.
Not at all. Deputy Mayor Anderson, you're okay with supporting this correspondence? Thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councillor Wheeldon.
I didn't realize we had colored lights here. Can we do that? Are we going to be lighting up in different ways at different times moving forward?
So it says the municipal center, but usually we light up King Edward Park because the King Edward Community Center, because it's already white and it lights up better. So we can change the motion, and I think we do have colored lights for that purpose. Manager Hallam, is that true? I think I remember the former director saying so, but
We have colored lights at Memorial Park on the stage. I'm not aware of colored lights in King Edward Park.
you're right. And I think once we did that, we migrated everything to the stage at Memorial Park. Would you like to change the motion? Or know where our lights light up? I have changed Municipal Center to Memorial Park Stage. You're okay with that, Councillor Rowley, Deputy Mayor Anderson?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. The next item is a sign variance request from Trinity St. Andrews United Church. I have declared a conflict of interest on this as I am a member of the Trinity St. Andrews United Church Council. And at the beginning of the meeting, council elected that Council Rowley will take the chair. Council Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a motion in front of me moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that council receive the request from Trinity St. Andrews United Church to waive the variance fee of $75 for the installation of the electronic sign. Councillor Wheeldon, this is your motion. Would you like to speak to it?
Nothing at this time, no.
Is there anyone else who would like to discuss this motion? Councillor Wright?
Through you, Ms. Chair. Just wondering why receive and not support.
Exactly my reasoning for asking Councillor Wheeldon to speak to the motion.
Sure. We always have to choose when we get the motion on our desk if we receive or support. I have nothing against Trinity St. Andrews. I don't love electronic signs. And it seemed a relatively small amount. If they're having a hard time paying it, I'm happy to chip in, but I didn't think it appropriate to just give it away. That everybody else who applies for things pays the fees.
Is there anyone else who'd like to? Councillor Wright?
Can I ask, is there a precedent set with any of the other churches? Did they ask for the fees to be waived in terms of their electronic signs? Because I think there's a couple in town, is there not? Do we know?
So Director White doesn't know of another, if any of the others have requested that. Anything else? Councillor Wheeler?
I will just say that council doesn't set precedents. It was somewhat in that mindset that I thought, why would we start doing this for our groups? There are plenty of fees that everyone would love to be exempt from. Again, I have no problem with even supporting them to pay this fee personally, but as far as the municipality requiring fees for their services, I don't feel that we should be just giving them away unless there's a compelling reason. And I didn't see a real reason given. They just didn't want to pay it. So
Was just trying to determine what's been done in the past. So wasn't sure if they were asking because it's been done at another point.
I would also have a question for staff on this. Reading through here, that the sign is intended to display information regarding church services, community events, emergency notifications as requested by the municipality. So I kind of see that as maybe the church sign doing some of the work for the municipality. Do we do that with the other church signs as well, or the sign? I know Prince Edward Street, this makes it visible. I know Butler Street for Evangel Pentecostal, they have their sign, theirs is visible, as the Christian Reformed Church on Highway 2. The Legion, maybe not so much, but I'm sure we use that as well. Were they requested to help out with emergency notifications as well? Do you know?
Through you, Chair Rowley, I am not aware. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody left here from our communications team to confirm. So I'm not aware of whether or not we've requested usage of those signs.
Is there anyone else that would like to discuss this before I call for the vote? I will read the motion once again. That council receives the request from Trinity St. Andrews United Church to waive the variance fee of $75 for the installation of the electronic sign. All those in favor? Those opposed? So the motion carries as it's read.
Well, thank you, Councilor Rowley. I'll take the chair back and we'll move on to FYI correspondence, 18.1 Trinity St. Andrews Pride Walk and Worship Service, Sunday, June 15th, 2025. I will remind everyone that I also declared a conflict of interest on this, but it is a non-disqualifying conflict because it's in common with the elector, so I will continue to preside over the meeting. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, and it'll require a seconder that council receive the correspondence from Trinity St. Andrews United Church regarding the 2025 Pride Walk and Service. Is there a seconder? Councillor McCausland. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. And the updates from Northumberland County, April 14th to 25th, moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The council received the Northumberland County updates, April 14th to 25th, 2025. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. I meant to mention this during announcements and forgot. Happy Earth Day, everyone. And also there's notice here about the Mayor's Keep the County Clean Challenge. There's still opportunity for the public to participate in a trash bash coming up on the 26th, which is the last day. You can find out more at brighton.ca, or you can try and call Gord Fletcher.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. Just reading the last paragraph as well on the report regarding Administrative Professionals Day being tomorrow. So on my behalf, I certainly want to kind of thank all of our administrative staff, not only administrative staff, all of the staff that we have here who have been nothing but a wonderful support to this council.
Hear, hear. Thank you. Anyone else? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. And the next is FYI correspondence from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, as well as letters from the town of Saugeen Shores, town of Tilsonburg, town of Amherstburg, and township of Rideau Lakes With a motion from Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, the council received correspondence from the Honorable Rob Flack, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, strong mayor powers announcement, extension of strong mayor powers and resolution and letters of opposition. From the town of Saugeen Shores, Mayor Luc Charbonneau, letter of opposition. Town of Tilsonburg, letter of opposition. Town of Amherstburg, resolution of opposition. Township of Rideau Lakes, resolution of opposition. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
I have a lot to say, but I'll try and keep it brief. First of all, I wonder if everyone knows what this is or how it came about. So I do want to clarify for starters that we did not ask for strong mayor powers here. In fact, none of these 169 municipalities who just have been told that they're going to be receiving it or requested it, to my knowledge. I wonder, Mayor, if it's possible for you to tell us all exactly what this entails to the best of your abilities, knowing that you're still figuring that out.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeldon. I wish I'd known you'd ask this. I would have brought my little briefing note that's provided by the Minister of Municipal Affairs through the Municipal Act. Sure, thanks. The CAO and I did meet about this today, and we'll meet again as we try to figure out what others are doing, what best practices, we don't know what best practices are, what best practices might look like as we wade through this. In a nutshell, it provides mayors with the authority to appoint a CAO, to change the organizational structure, to appoint department heads, I believe is what the legislation says. Somewhat nebulous term. We're not really quite sure what level of management that looks like, with the exception of statutory positions. So the exceptions are people like the clerk, the treasurer, the fire chief, emergency planners, those kinds of roles that are designated through legislation. Provides the mayors with powers to strike committees and to appoint chairs and vice chairs of committees. Provides mayors with veto power on bylaws, provided that they can show that it's in the province's interest to veto that bylaw, and trying to figure out what that looks like. I mean, some will use that power and figure out a way to make it look like provincial, it's in the province's interest. My reading of it suggests that it's got to be transit, roads, housing. There's like 3 or 4 or 5 specific issues. The veto power can be overridden by a 2/3 majority vote of council. I cannot imagine a time when this mayor would veto a bylaw duly voted on by this council. The reality is, with very few exceptions, almost every resolution and every bylaw we pass is either unanimously supported or easily supported already by 2/3 majority. So it would be quite the fool's errand to then start vetoing things that 2/3 of council has already voted in favor of, usually with my support. So, unless I'm feeling particularly well, anyway. Yeah, that's the one you like the best. The mayor has the authority to bring the budget to council. As I have expressed to some of you individually, I will not be sitting down with my spreadsheet and calculator and trying to bring a budget for council. So unless that actually allows us, the CAO and the treasurer and I, to sit down and formulate a budget that makes sense for Brighton, to then bring and deliberate to council, which is exactly what it would be, because council then can make changes on the budget. I can't imagine using that authority, much to the CAO's chagrin, who would love very much for me to do that. So am I missing anything? I'm probably missing a couple little things in there. Yeah. Councillor Wheeldon.
Sorry to put you on the spot like that. The challenge with this, I mean, there are a few challenges with this. I agree with you that I can't imagine it having any impact on this council. We have been united in almost everything. And particularly, this is these strong mayor powers are premised on the idea of us taking action on housing and homelessness issues. And we have taken incredible initiative in this term of council to take action on housing and homelessness issues already without requiring any strong mayor powers to do so. The powers to strike committees or to hire particular staff members, those are things that already would be the power of council. And it would just be bypassing the step where we get to approve something. And again, I can't imagine this mayor doing that unless it was for simple expediency in an uncontroversial issue, if something like that were to come up. So I'm not worried about this term of council so much, but I am worried about the fact that this is a completely different approach to democracy than what we've had in Ontario for a very long time. This is the way that American cities have mayor powers, and I don't love to see that here in Canada. This is an approach that has not led to significant, earth-shaking new housing developments in the cities that have had this for the last couple of years. Toronto and Ottawa have had this since 2022, and the rate of development is still declining there rather than suddenly leaping ahead. My concern also is that at times when the Premier has talked about granting these types of powers to cities, it has been explicitly related to his intention to break up homeless encampments and included in his rhetoric about using the notwithstanding clause to override the rights of Canadian citizens who are experiencing homelessness. And so the idea that we would give any mayor, including ours, special powers premised on the idea that it's for the sake of overriding the rights, the constitutional rights of Canadians is disturbing to me. And I think the letters of opposition and resolutions of opposition that we see here share a lot of that concern, as well as a simple logistical concern of wondering what this actually looks like in practice when it's actually a significant shift in the way that we operate. It's come out of the blue and very little guidance has been given. So I'm concerned about this in probably every possible way. But the one that stands out in my mind the most is what this looks like to residents in terms of what does it mean to be a council and what does it mean to be a mayor? How will this impact the next election and those who are seeking to run for the office of mayor? We have had challenging elections in Brighton in the past. Some very unfortunate incidents, even in the last campaign. And I worry that this will embolden some of the worst elements in politics because it concentrates more power in one person. And so in the hands of populism or in that spirit, these kinds of powers, while I'm not concerned about them at all right now, could be dangerous and divisive. And so I feel like just throwing these powers out without really even warning is akin to the province lobbing hand grenades into 169 council chambers without concern for the consequences. So I'm very concerned and opposed to this.
Thank you, Councilor Beelden. Councilor Wright.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, and to everybody in this room. We're seeing some disturbing things happen south of the border, and we're seeing some of that in many small ways playing out up here with the influence that has. And this week alone, I've seen a couple of really horrible things happen in terms of the structures that have been in place for nature, not just south of the border, but now here in Ontario as well. And this is also one of them, strong mayor powers. This is an erosion of democracy. Why? Sorry, this is just makes me want to throat punch somebody.
Not at me, I hope.
Well, let's hold on. No, it's really disturbing to see how the way that we have done things, and it's not that change is bad in itself, but when we start to see things play out that puts power in one place and concentrates power in one place, that's when it starts to get dangerous. And I agree, that is not likely to play out here around this particular horseshoe. But we have a future to think about, and we're always thinking about the future around this horseshoe. Strong mayor powers are just another small way that degrades the democracy that we have. It degrades the votes that all the people put out there for us to come sit around here. It degrades the job that we do. It doesn't make things necessarily any faster, in terms of pushing development through, to get affordable housing. Like, we're doing things around this table to try and get that done. And I don't think strong mayor powers are going to make that move any bit faster. I'm not entirely sure what the end game is, but I am watching the erosion of democracy in real time, the erosion of nature in real time, and it's really, really disturbing. And the more we lean into these things, thinking that it's okay, we can do this, we're given permission, we really have to be careful. We really have to sit and think about what this is really doing to the fabric of what we've been working with and what has built Canada this whole time. We do not need to be the United States of America. I don't need to see our cities and towns run like an American city or town. We can see they've got issues going on. We don't need any of that up here. I don't see the point of strong mayor powers, and I would highly suggest that we support, along with the documents that we see in that package, that we also send our own forward.
So on that, I would suggest a notice of motion, because unless you want to divide this motion but I think if we have our own motion, it might make a lot more sense. So may I suggest a notice of motion? Yeah. So will you and Councillor Wright work on that and bring that forward?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I want to comment also on the proposed reasoning for this being the ability for the mayor to overcome obstacles in support of provincial priorities, specifically related to housing and homelessness, but often broadly written as just provincial priorities. And it seems to me that this is giving up on democracy. This is saying, and much as we've seen in many other respects over the last couple of years, this provincial government has taken away appeal rights from different groups, has given ministerial veto powers on many different aspects that weren't there before. And there's just this idea that actually convincing people to work together takes too much time, it takes too much effort. And so democracy isn't working, and so let's just have less of it. Which is not that different from just saying drain the swamp and be a department of government efficiency. This idea that we just have to get rid of government or shut people up rather than actually convince them, cast a vision of the world that we want to create. We in this room have no problem cooperating, collaborating, getting along, sharing a vision, even when we disagree. That's what democracy is supposed to be. We're supposed to try and get each other on side. We're trying to convince each other, trying to bring people into the conversation. And moves like this just give us an out. They say, you know what, all this democracy stuff is fine, but when the rubber meets the road, the mayor can just take care of it for us. Particularly because powers were initially given to people who pledged support for particular provincial priorities. It really represented the provincial government reaching into municipalities and saying, you're going to be our guy to get this provincial priority done. And it really was, I feel, interference in municipal politics, even though municipalities are creatures of the province. Nonetheless, it really was the premier has a priority and we need to empower somebody to override the rest of the elected representatives to get his ideas done. And we don't need that here. I don't think we want that here. And I'm happy to work with you to write a notice of motion.
Thank you both. Councilor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. If I understand correctly, you did say that you have to draft a letter yourself that will be forwarded to the province. And I would expect that that letter at some point will become public as far as so Brighton, the residents of Brighton will know exactly where you along with your council stand.
The people of Brighton will know what powers I have decided to keep and which I have delegated to staff and or council. And I'm working through that with the CAO and other staffers to make sure that what we're doing isn't going to look like a hammer at the end of the day, or be a hammer, quite frankly, at the end of the day.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. And yes, so that letter, when I draft that letter, or when Caroline drafts that letter, I will be sure that it's copied to all of council, and by that I mean it'll be put on a public agenda for everyone to see. I've been getting Caroline to do things well before I had strong mayor powers. Councillor Wheeldon.
You raise an interesting point there. So you have to choose which of these powers you're going to delegate and which you're going to keep. In theory, you could delegate all of them and nothing would change.
Or simply reject them. I think I can. No, I have to delegate. I actually have to delegate the powers. Yes,
Yeah.
I guess in theory I could.
Okay, so this is not a gift that we can return.
Right. We have to figure out where the powers will land.
Yeah. And after the next election, the next mayor will similarly have to make that decision.
Also correct.
Yeah. So this is not a question of we could delegate all things now and then it would be like that ever after. It would be whoever runs for mayor next could potentially keep them all for themselves.
The person in the office makes the decision of what powers they have or what powers they delegate.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you all. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? That motion's carried. That brings us to question period. Is there anyone in the gallery that has a question with anything that appeared on this evening's agenda? Mr. Green.
Thank you. For the record, David Green. The Trinity St. Andrew's request for waiving the fee, both churches and the Legion had their fee waived. And because this church is prominently on Prince Edward, from my work on the Emergency Planning Committee, I thought it would be appropriate that we make the offer for the municipality to use that particular sign in the event of an emergency. And I hope that giving you this information is appropriate. My question. My next question, the speed camera. I think I heard Councillor Rowley say that the speed cameras are installed. To the best of my knowledge, what's on those two posts is what we call the black cat. The black cat is a measuring device which counts the cars and measures the speed, but does not identify the vehicle in question. So are the actual cameras installed?
To the best of my knowledge, no.
Thank you.
Welcome. Cameras need to yet be installed and signage needs to yet go up.
But we have given the notification of our 90 days.
The Ministry of Transportation has provided us with our 90-day notification period.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, not necessarily
But-
excellent.
But there may be, when we install the cameras, there may be a 90-day test period. CAO? No?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, just in answer to that question, the 90 days has begun. So we may have a test period, yes, with cameras, but the 90 days started April 15th. Director Walsh, could you just comment on the signage? Because I believe we had some signage. We were looking at some additional signage, and I know there's been a question about whether we've put that up or if there's still some outstanding.
Director Walsh.
To the Mayor, Council, and to the delegate. Yeah, the signage is up and correct. The cameras are not. We do have the black hats. And then when the 90 days concludes, and you can look at our website, find the date, I think it's July 12th, that concludes the
July 14th.
July 14th. And then that will be the commencement period for automated speed enforcement. There'll be another sign that, right now it says coming soon. There'll be another sign that says it's active.
Thank you. And I can't address the TSA, Trinity St. Andrews question, obviously, Mr. Green. It was kind of rhetorical, I think. Thank you. Anyone else with a question that appeared on tonight's agenda? And no one's joining us on Zoom for that purpose. Thank you. Our confirmatory bylaw is moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date. Being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Corporation of the Municipality of Brighton Council meeting held on April 22nd, 2025. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. The motion moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that the April 22nd, 2025 council meeting adjourn at 7:25 p.m. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. May God save the King.